Hey, this is Mr. Brown Thumb, and I'm going to show you a book I made using the Blurb.com website. About a month ago, a representative from the company emailed me asking me if I wanted to try the service, and she gave me a coupon that I could use on the website that covered the cost of the production of the book and shipping. First thing you should know is that it's very, very easy to use Blurb. They have a number of preset sizes of books that you can choose from, and it can be as simple as just dragging and dropping photographs into the template layouts, or you can even customize them a bit. You can add text, you can add borders. And I chose this book size, and it's a hardcover. It has a photograph on the back and on the front. If you're curious, the flower is an amaryllis. It's charisma, and you can see a photo of that one on the Mr. Brown Thumb blog. So I started off with a bunch of pictures from the blog and some that I hadn't published online before. These photographs reminded me of people, events, or things I covered because of the blog. So it's like a little scrapbook of the Mr. Brown Thumb blog. And I decided to go with this format for the book because 2012 was the 7th year anniversary of the blog, so I wanted something to commemorate the experience by. And so title page, my dedication page, and I chose this as my first image, and next to it it says it all started with free plants, because when I started the outdoor garden there was an online gardener I met, and she sent me a bunch of perennials to add to my garden. So it's kind of a little homage to her and how the garden got started. And next to it is a photograph from the Milwaukee Art Museum during the Art and Bloom exhibit. I went with My Skinny Garden to go hear Gayla Trail from You Grow Girl talk. And it was a really, really fun experience. I mean, the trip there was hilarious. Getting to hear Gayla talk and then meeting her afterwards and going to dinner with a group of garden bloggers. Talked about a lot of stuff. It was pretty cool. This is an oriental lily from my garden. My niece with her first sunflowers she ever grew in the garden. Sunflower head. This is one of the giant sunflowers. I'm really, really big fan of them. Nasturtiums, they're another flower I really like. You may have picked up on that if you've read the Mr. Brown Thumb blog. I write about them a lot. More oriental lilies. Planter from a garden tour that I took that I really liked. My nephew and his first strawberry he ever grew. Dinner plate hibiscus. Begonia leaf that I really liked. My other nephew with his first tomato he ever grew in the garden. Another nasturtium. A bulb to remember an old gardener in my neighborhood by. Before she moved away, she wanted somebody to take her plants, so I took some of her bulbs so that I guess she could always have like a little space in the neighborhood even though she wouldn't physically be there anymore. Poppies, I love poppies. Photo from a garden tour. More photos from a garden tour. Here's one thing that I noticed about the Blurb book that kind of surprised me. Well, I've never converted images to CMYK before. I've always just used RGB since that's what you use online. And I didn't expect for them to come out this dark. As you can see here, there's a big shadow in this corner. And that's not really a problem with the book making process or the printing. That has to be, I think that has to do more with my being new to converting and not understanding the gamut warnings. But Blurb makes it so simple that you don't even have to worry about conversion if you don't want to. But I knew a little bit about Photoshop, so I decided to give it a try. Poppy, again the amaryllis from the cover. Runner beans, really into runner beans lately. Red Admiral butterfly from my garden. This particular photo has a sentimental meaning to me, and there's a big story behind it. There's a bumblebee about to pollinate a borage flower. This was in a medicinal garden that I spent a lot of time in a couple of years ago. Next to it is a picture of some peas. Alliums, I'm a big fan of alliums. And Leatris, I believe. Here's a photo of the Lurie Garden in Chicago when the Saltville River is in bloom. This picture has a bee in it, and this one has a white skipper moth. So a little garden next to the Art Institute in Chicago. And an indoor garden installation a friend of mine was part of. That was pretty cool. Another photo from a garden tour. Here's another little sort of hidden garden in Chicago that I really like. Here's a garden I found underneath the train tracks once when I was just wandering around the city taking pictures of plants. And next to it, again, came out a little darker than I expected, but that's more of my fault because I didn't really know what I was doing when I was converting to CMYK. But this one is of a garden on the CTE train installed by Joe Baldwin, the same guy who did the artist garden. And then here's a photo of the Lincoln Park Conservatory when it was damaged by a hailstorm. Came out a little dark. And it says where food comes from. This is a backyard edible garden that I really like, that I saw on a tour once. Next to it is Growing Powers Urban Farm in Grant Park. And then these two photos I paired together because they kind of represent the, I guess, inequality of a big city like Chicago. And on the left we have Chef Rick Bayless's backyard urban farm, I guess. A lot of the food he grows here goes into his restaurants. It's a very nice, very nice garden. And then next to it is the Cook County Jail Garden. As you can see, there's inmates tending to the garden. And I kind of like how the garden in both pictures is a great equalizer, because here you have somebody who has a lot. Here you have people who have little to nothing. But in a garden, they're still the same. And in the garden, they can both find common ground. One of the black irises from my garden. I've seen this picture a lot on the blog. Here's a black tulip. There's a Queen of Night. Again, came out a little darker in this section here than I was expecting, but it's a learning experience, I guess, for me. And it's just a ladybug. I really like bugs. Ever since I stopped using pesticides in my garden a few years ago, there's just been an abundance of interesting insects to photograph. I'll go back through the pictures one more time just to give you a look. These particular pictures, I'm really impressed with how they came out with. I mean, they're almost damn near perfect, which really surprised me because I haven't seen my photographs in print before very often. I've seen them in newspapers and some magazines, but never in a format like this. This one came out pretty good too. This one was a lot nicer than I was expecting. An agave from the Garfield Park Conservatory. And this one came out pretty decent too. It's a little dark in some areas, but I kind of think it adds to the spookiness of being underneath the train tracks. And this one's probably my favorite of the pictures. I mean, the colors were spot on, and they printed nicely. And then this one, I really like the way the white skipper moth echoes the band shell in the back. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bumblebee in this one right here. And in the description down here, I'll add a link to the blog so you can read more about the pictures or more about a full review of using Blurb and Booksmart to lay out a book. It was very, very simple. And I mean, for like $20, you can gift yourself a photo book like this of pictures from your garden. Or you can give it as a gift to somebody else.